Hi, this is Kairatri, aka Tree, here for Tree's Tack Shop mod. So today we are going to be walking through the entire process from start to finish for making a brand new texture and implementing it into the game. This will be a very long tutorial. Um, I'm going to try and do it as succinctly as possible. I'll have timestamps down in the comments for ease of access. So let's get into it. For starters, we are going to need the mod itself for SWEM, and the easiest way to do that is by opening up our CurseForge and going and accessing our instance profile. So here you'll see all my different profiles. Here's my main one, my safe haven. We can right click it and go open folder. That's going to open our folder. We do not need CurseForge anymore, so we'll just close that. From here, we're going to go down into mods, click, and then we're going to look for SWEM, which should be kind of down towards the bottom. Here, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for SWEM dash forge dash, this is would be the version. So if you're trying to do this one 1.20, it'll be 1.20.1, and then the version of SWEM that is, in this case, this is 1.4.2. We are going to move this out onto somewhere easy to accessible. You can see this folder right here called SWEM models. This is where I have all my SWEM models located. You can see here I already have SWEM 1.20 in. So I'm just going to click and drag. You'll see it says move right there. If you just press hold control, it'll copy right over, or you can do the control C, control V. So we're going to get rid of this folder. We don't need it for right now. And now we're going to work inside of our SWEM models. Having this folder on our desktop makes it easily accessible in the future. So, in order to gain access to the files of SWEM, which most importantly we're looking for is the horse model itself, we're going to need to change this from a jar file to just a file folder. The in-between process of this is changing it into a zip file. There's two different ways to do this. The first way, if you do not have WinRAR, we're going to go up here to View. We're going to see, click this check mark right here that says File Name Extensions. So if we had undid this, you wouldn't see that jar, but once you click it, you'll see this .jar, the .jar file. Then we can just right-click, rename. You'll see how it just normally highlights the name of the file, but we're going to actually go all the way over, delete the JAR, and replace it with ZIP. It's going to give us an error saying, hey, it might become unstable. We're going to say yes, and suddenly we have a zip file that then we can just right click and extract files to. We're going to want this for this folder. Now, if you have WinRAR or a different other resource, you can see it'll just allow me this option right now, which is to extract to swem-forge, blah, 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 blah. You do not want this extract here version. You want to extract it to a folder. And we'll just let it run. The reason why we want it into a folder instead of into just here is because if we open up this folder, you can see it has all these different items inside of it just right there. That would cause a big issue inside of a folder. So by adding its own little folder, it makes it easier to use. All right, we don't need this, so we'll get rid of it. And we'll just open it up here. So we now have the file folder. This will have all the core components of SWEM. Now, here is something to note about SWEM. SWEM is an all rights reserved mod. It is not open source. If you are accessing the code in any shape, way, or form, you are doing so under big problems. Don't do that unless you know what you're doing. You're taking very careful steps with it, and you're reaching out to people inside of the SWEM mod. Editing the code at all and trying to placate it as if it is 100% yours is going to get you in big trouble. Do not do that. Same thing with any of these assets that we'll find it under this asset folder. If you are not changing basically 100% of these assets, do not mess with them. By doing so, you're opening yourself up to a lot of trouble. So make sure that whatever you're creating is 100% your own. that is your own work, your own doing, so that way you're not getting yourself in trouble, because I would never want to encourage that behavior. All right, with that little side asset said, we're going to open up this assets folder. Just so that you guys know, this cache, com, data, all of this other folders, unless you're actually interested in creating an add-on or creating a data pack, any of these extra folders you actually don't need. And if it's better for you and easier for you, you can actually just delete them if you want. Because I do make a mod that is an add-on to SWEM, I do like to keep this so I can reference back to different items inside of it to learn how SWEM is referencing and calling different things. So that way my mod can talk to it. But that's beside the point. We're going to open up assets. Again, you'll see a whole bunch of different options in here, but the one that we're really interested in here is SWEM. These different folders, these are all different mod types. And what they're doing is they're different talking points for how things are called. So what we're looking for is SWEM. Open up, whoop, we're not going to rename it, we're just going to open up SWEM. And now what we're looking for is this geo. So this geo folder is a shorthand for Geckolib. So we're going to want this geo folder. We're going to click this. A horse is an entity, so we'll click entity. If you are looking for this English bridle, this is the English bridle that sits on the bridle rack. Here's the horse poop. Here's the saddlebag. And here is the wormy boy, so those are horse worms. But we're not interested in those. We're interested in the horse itself. And right here is our horse. So we have swem_horse.geo.json. This is the file that we want. But if we were to open this file right now, this is disgusting. This makes no sense to us. We don't like this. So in order to actually start making this function and making us understand what this means, we're going to need a program called BlockBench. Okay, I have it down here. Whoops. So how we find ourselves BlockBench is we can just go into Google, type in BlockBench. This is the first option there. It's a low poly 3D model editor, and we'll just want to download it. I guess you can use it on the app. I've never done this. Just download it. It's better. It will run smoother. This will be what it all looks like. Like, dude, this guy built a tractor. That is so cool. Anyway, so we're gonna get this out of here, and so we're gonna open this up in BlockBench. So if we double click BlockBench once it's downloaded, you'll get this kind of bring. Everything, by the way, is really big on my screen, so that way hopefully you can see it. Here's all your recents. So if we want to open a model, so we'll click here, we'll say open model. Oh no, where did it go? Well, if we go back over here, we can highlight all this text. This is called our path. Just highlight all this text. And we can come up here, paste, and suddenly we are right back to where we wanted. If we wanted to just find it again, we would go desktop. We have where to go SWEM models, our 1.18.2, assets, SWEM, geo, entity, horse, and there we go, swem_horse.geo.json. And we'll just open. I'm using my middle mouse button right now to scroll in and scroll out. So here is our horse model. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful, we love it. If you're ever wondering why SWEM takes up so much of your space on RAM, it's because this is completely loaded all the time for your horse. All these different layers, all these different things, they're just all invisible when they're not rendered with tags. That is why our SWEM horses take up so much of our RAM. So now we got a horse. What do we do now? So right here is our UV mapping. So this is where our texture goes. Here is our horse by itself. Here is our element. This will, once I click on something, it gives me, when we're in our edit mode, this will give me about its position, about its size, its pivot, rotation, all these cool different things. You can see here, now that I've clicked on something, you can see this exact cube right here. And where it lives underneath our main body front. We'll get into this in just a second. What you guys are probably want to be doing is you're actually going to be wanting on the paint section. Once again, here will be our paint palette. Down here will be our those blocks again. Here will be our textures, and this will be a lot smaller for you as well. So I'm just going to kind of try and I'm going to do a little pause. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so I can work on this for just a second. All right, so I'm back. I made it a little bit better size so we have a little bit more room to play. Now, something I recommend. What we can do is we can import a texture or create a texture. Creating a texture is not ideal, especially when we're talking about something as complex as the SWEM Horse model. There's a lot of different things with a lot of different mapping, and it all lives in slightly different places, and it's very difficult to know what exactly you're painting on. In this case, this is the only time I'm recommending to use SWEM's texture files. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do it without copying what they have. So what we're going to do is we're going to want to import a texture. We're going to click this. It's going to open up that file again. It's going to be right back where we left off. So we're going to back up to SWEM. Instead of going into Geo, we're going to go into Textures. Once again, we're going to go into Entity. We're going to go right back into Horse. And here are all the different types of horse stuff. Armor actually contains pasture blankets inside of it. Then these blankets are actually our saddle blankets. Breast collar, bridle, coats. So if you're trying to make your own special coat, here are all the coats here. Girth strap, halter, leg wraps, saddle, saddlebag, and wings. And then a rider down here. So what I'm going to be working on is we'll do a pasture blanket. So we're going to go into armor. Whoops, I'm going to go to armor, pasture blanket, and I like to always start with the white ones because it kind of tells me, allows me to work on a texture. So we're going to open up the white texture file. So now you can see how everything has been turned invisible on the horse except for the pasture blanket. So here's how the SWEM horse and model works. It's just like how player armor works and just like how horse saddles and pig saddles work in vanilla Minecraft. Your player, the pig, the horse, they all have the saddle and armors already on them at all times. They're just invisible until we apply that texture over top. Similarly to our horse, if I take just red here and I kind of draw in this section over here, you can see I'm drawing like on the legs, on the back, on the face, because this whole area is where the horse texture lives. Down here, we'll get some saddle textures, we get some wing textures. And as we kind of go through, the middle is pretty bare, but you can see here all across is where this lives. So if you were to just try and attempt a brand new texture, you would not know where to be painting. So that is why I recommend using a SWEM base texture or some of the template textures from my mod to use. And again, we'll get into that. Let me just kind of show you around BlockBench first. So I'm going to undo this because I don't need red marks everywhere. So again, using my middle mouse button to scroll in, we are on this paint section. We'll get to animate in just a second. And if you don't see animate, that's fine. We'll get there in just a second. So now that I'm in my paint section, something I recommend right here, you'll see lock alpha channel. This allows you to not accidentally paint somewhere where there's not already colors. If you want to see the painting grid, now you can see all those different invisible blocks there, as well as all the rendered blocks as well. So I'm going to keep the painting grid on just for a second. And now we're going to come and talk about all these different boxes. So I'm going to hide color just so I can have the more access to these boxes. So these are just like paint layers in like Photoshop or Kirita or Paint Tool Sai, whatever tool you use. These are all just different layer values. So what I like to do, and so that we don't always have to use this lock alpha channel, but still not accidentally paint on a wing, Control Z, is by hiding these things, much like with any other painting tool. Hiding a layer, hiding a block in this case in BlockBench, will make it so you cannot paint on them. So I like to very quickly just start kind of like taking things off. I click it off, nothing that I wanted to paint on disappeared, so I move on to the next one. So I click it off, nothing I wanted to paint on, moved away. Click it off, again, nothing I wanted to paint on, went away, click it off, oop, it disappeared. So I will click it back on and I'm going to open this up. These core sets, by clicking them off, when you hide something smaller, it helps hide it. So I just tend to click those off. Since I'm working on a pasture blanket, I'm looking for this PB. And I can literally hide everything else beside that PB. There are names, and those names can help clue you in for what you want to hide. So we're just going to keep on going through, and because I know that I'm looking for this PB, so I'm going to hide anything that does not say PB on it. And I know there's nothing on the neck, so I'm just going to hide completely the neck. Again, with our middle, it's a little bit easier. We're not looking for armor cloth, we're not looking for the belly, we're looking for this PB middle, so we'll leave that going. And then we'll just kind of click all the rest of these off. Whoops, not the back. And then finally, we don't need back right, we don't need back left, we don't need the tail. We are looking in base and we're looking for that PB back, and everything else can go. All right, so now you should not see any other little grid blocks besides the ones that you want. And now you're free to paint to your heart's content. Anything that you leave invisible will not render, will be just continue to be invisible. If you paint on a block on the neck, it will render on the neck when you put on this blanket, such and so forth. So you can have those kind of cool things. So if you want to add a neck blanket to a neck part to this blanket, you would just turn on the neck and you would start adding textures up here on the neck area. Just note that like the mane is here and like bridles are here, so it's going to be a little bit weird how that goes. So we don't need the neck. All right, so that's how this goes. Before I get too deep into these BlockBench tools, let me just kind of point you to animate just for a second. If you don't have this tab, that means you're missing the Geckolib plugin. So if you go to File, Plugin, you're running Geckolib Animation Utilities. I already have it installed, but you can just type in, just right up here in the search bar, just Geckolib. Should be enough. Whoops. Just Geckolib, it'll pop up. You'll click it over here, and then there'll be an option to install it. This allows you to have this animation suite. In order to test your blanket, your tack item, to make sure they look right and they're not anything really big gaps going on, what you can do is we can import the SWEM animations. So if we go back, once again, we're in where we found our horse.json.geo file. We're going to go back to entity, back to geo, back to SWEM, and we're going to go into animations and go grab the swem_horse.json file. It's going to ask us which ones we want to select. I just always say all of them. It's easier like that. And then our first one on the list is the piaffe. I honestly like always scrolling down to like the trot or the canter is my favorites, because they are the ones that are most often used, or the walk. Once you click it, it'll allow you to see these kind of animation positions, and then we just click play animation and it allows us to go. If we want it to stop, we then click stop. It will keep our texture in whatever position it's in. If you wanted to paint a certain spot this way, that's a great opportunity. If you're like, nah, I just want it back in standard position, you can right click the animation that's loaded and just say unload, and it will return it back to its normal position, which is super nice. If you say we're in the walk animation, you're like, ah, it looks great in the walk. If you pause, then you can switch to another one. But if you're playing one and try and switch it to another one, sometimes it works like that. I've had a lot of issues where it'll try and play both animations at the same time, which is not ideal. So that's our animation tab. If you're wanting to make new animations, this would also be the place to do it as well. But like I said, this is mostly for a texture, and so we're going to work on the texture blanket situation. So let's go through our tools. Our biggest tool right here is our paintbrush. This is going to be our very best friend. If we want to paint something, it's perfect. It's just like the name implies. Our copy brush, honestly, I am not super 100% what this does. Not my favorite tool at all. It does not work as intended that I've read about. My second favorite tool is my paint bucket tool. Because we do not want to use SWEM's textures, we just want to use what blocks are rendered. The paint bucket tool is my favorite tool because I can just click and all of the face of the part is covered. And suddenly I am left with a map of all of the textures that the file has, but no longer any of SWEM's texture attached to it, which keeps me from trouble, or keeps me out of trouble, excuse me, from accidentally using SWEM's assets, because that is what I don't want to do. I don't want to get myself in trouble, and I recommend that you don't get yourself in trouble either. So our paint bucket tool can be our super, very best friend in order for keeping all of us out of trouble. The other thing is that we can look at here is we can see I still have some textures that are not yet been clicked on, so we can keep in mind that UV texture paint mapping as well here. Next up is our eraser. If we have locked our alpha channel, alpha meaning transparency, this eraser is not going to do very much for us, but if we unlock it, our eraser does just that. It erases stuff that exists. Straightforward. Color picker, super nice, exactly straight what you want. It picks up colors. Drawing a shape. Again, I haven't found a lot of super awesome use with this, but if you're looking for like a circle or a square, maybe this will be exactly what you need. It's not exactly what I need. Gradient tool can make nice gradients. It's kind of nice. Keeps things, again, on that same biplane. So if you're looking for like a nice gradient, really nice tool to use. It's not something I've really used, but you can totally use it. This is the copy paste tool I like, not this one, because what I can do if I right click, zoom in, right click, zoom in, it will always center this and then I have to go find it. What I can do is I can highlight a section of this and then I can drag it around like a copy paste, which is how I like to copy and paste things using this tool. It has our copy paste mode, or we can move it. Super nice. There's mirror painting. Again, I'm not super liking this because it's very weird in its mirroring. It's mirroring on the block itself. So like, say like I'm working on this PB front left, it's mirroring on this block. It's not mirroring against the whole thing. So again, maybe there's a different method of it, but not from the tutorials that I've found and I use myself. So this is great and all. We love this. But what if you would rather have layers? Because obviously working right here, I only have one layer to work from, and this does not make my heart happy. So what we can do instead is we can right click our texture file. We can have our edit in BlockBench option. And that's just because I haven't saved it yet. I'm actually going to save as, because we don't want to save it here. This is not our helpful tool. I'm going to actually go all the way back up to SWEM models, and I'm just going to save it right here. Save it somewhere you can find it. But once we've saved it, so we're starting from something fresh and new, what we can have is this edit externally. I have already assigned it to edit externally in a specific application. The first time you do it, it'll ask you what application you want to use. So I've set it to be in Kirta as it's populating right now. You can use Photoshop, you can use GIMP, you can use Paint Tool SI, you can use whatever you want. Here's the caveat though. If you close BlockBench, this closes. So always make sure to save this before closing a BlockBench, especially if you're like building a multi-layer file, you want to save like a PSD or one of those other layer files. For Kirta, it's a KRA file. So now that we have this, we can paint a lot easier. We can like duplicate a background, so duplicate layer mask. We can make like nice weird things, whatever you want, right? Just like add some like splashes of color in here, just so we can see kind of some changes that happened. We'll add some blue, we'll add some yellow. You can use transparency, you can use this overlay, you can use all the different features. And if we want to see it occur in BlockBench, because obviously we don't have anything yet in BlockBench, all we have to do in Kirita, or whatever software you have, is just our Control S. So we're saving, we press OK, it's now saved again, and now suddenly it's populated in BlockBench. So something I like to do is I'll have BlockBench open on my second monitor, and I'll have Kirita open on my main monitor. And so I can make a change here, press Control S, see that change happen in BlockBench, and kind of fiddle with it. Here's that example of something got moved, something changed, and now this is a area where it is invisible. So that's an example. Now, what if you are worried that, oh no, I don't want to use SWEM's textures at all. I'm worried about all that copyright issues. I completely understand. I completely get it. Hence why I have also made a complete texture mapping as well. So here's our Discord for the Trees Tack Shop. If we go down to texture shares, up to the top, it's also, if you look for it under pinned messages, here's that fly aspect, but right here. So our template resource pack. Not only is this allows you to not have to use SWEM's resources, it also comes pre-made in a texture pack folder. You don't have to then build yourself later. It also comes in made with named files for all the different types of SWEM or the tack shop assets already in their correct spots, already in their correct names. So all you have to do is just save over top of it, don't change any names, and it'll be ready to go for inputting into your game. So let's go grab that. So if we go click here, it'll open up Trees Tack Shop resources. Because I'm working in 1.18.2, I can see here's our download button. So we'll just click download. It's zipping our file. It's preparing to download. It'll probably take a while. If you want to README, there's a README file. It explains, hey, download that entire folder. It's fine. We don't need to README because I'll tell you. So you just want to download this entire pack. You don't want to go in and kind of cherry pick this. Okay. You want to go in and download the entire thing. So we're going to wait for this to download here in a second. So once we got this, we're going to want to unzip it. Where'd you download? Yes, please. Where did you download? Open file location. Ah, it's in downloads. What would you think? We're going to get rid of all of this just to kind of clean this up. I'm going to move it into SWEM models. And now here's our Trees Tack Shop template. We're going to want to extract to, I'm going to just do extract to here. And here is my tack lock template. You could have extracted to here since it existed in its own folder, so I'm just going to move it up. Alright, so I don't need this, don't need that. All I'm left with is, whoa, I did need that. Lol. Okay, I don't need this one. Which one has stuff? Okay, that one has stuff. Is this one empty? Yes, this one is the empty one. We don't need the empty one now that we moved it. So, the reason why I moved that folder out is because this is what we want to see as soon as we open up a resource pack. We want to see an assets folder, a pack.mc meta, and a pack.png. Having these three folders here in existence will tell Minecraft that, hey, this is a texture pack. This is a resource pack. If you don't have those immediately accessible as soon as you open up a folder, Minecraft's not going to see it. So this is ready to go to be loaded into this folder is ready to go to be loaded into Minecraft. The other side of this is that so that you know, you don't need it to be a zip folder in order for it to run in Minecraft as a resource pack, you can run it out of a folder as well. So just like before, when we're looking for assets, we're going to go into assets. Here's the deal. If you're looking for an icon, you're going to go into the tack shop. If you're looking for the horse tack, you're going to go back into SWEM. SWEM, textures, entity, horse, and here are all the different things that I've added. If you want to add a horse coat, you would go new, folder, coats, all lowercase, and here's where your new horse coat would be, and it will be named, say if we open up our SWEM 1.18.2, assets, SWEM, textures, entity, horse, coats. See how this is the same as this, assets, SWEM, textures, entity, horse. Basically what we're doing is we're creating a new pathway. This is called a path for Minecraft to look for a texture file. And so if you made a different 2v gray, you would then have your new coat file be 2_v_gray.png with your new file right here. And then when you spawn in horse variant 2, number 2, the gray, you would have that. Also, if you're looking for, oh no, I made a new horse coat, how do I spawn it in? These numbers, when they existed, will tell you what they are. When it comes to these, what you're looking for is the horse variant data number in the SWEM wiki. I personally, if I got to change one thing about SWEM, it would be I would have kept this number naming system. But that's just me. Anyway, besides the point. Let's work through here. So again, we're going to look for that pasture blanket. Here's our different pasture blanket. Notice there is no white because mine does not come with a white blanket. But so if we want to make add a new texture, we're going to import texture. We're going to go back to SWEM models, choose tack shop, assets, SWEM, textures, entity, horse, armor, pasture blanket, and just grab anyone. Just because yellow is really close to white, we'll grab yellow. And if I click it, it switches over to it. Nice and pretty. So a lot of people have questions about shading. Something how I work with my shading is I'll make a completely white texture here in BlockBench. So I'll just copy everything over in white. And then I'll use varying shades of gray to make like a nice kind of shading. This would be where maybe a gradient tool would be helpful if that's more your jam. Maybe I'll make it in blue gradient because blue is cool. So whatever your jam is, you can do this. And then once you have this gray-white texture, you save it. Again, keep saving it because it's going to be living in the exact right position because we're working on the tack shop template. Then I'll edit externally. Once again, it's going to populate over here in Kirta. You can see here we still have the blanket white because we were working on it and we didn't close it. And now that we have this texture, what I like to do is I duplicate it, take this top one, we go into multiply, lock the opacity of the original, and now I can just paint bucket. Hey, I would like to paint bucket the whole thing, please. There we go. So I can paint bucket texture and then suddenly my texture is layered. So by using a gray and white texture, I've basically created a shading layer using the using our multiply feature on our layer model. So that's something you can do and something I recommend to do as a texture artist. So once we have that done, again, we'll just Control save and we'll see these changes. I'm going to close this out. We're going to see these changes once again appear in BlockBench. All right. So we now have a new texture. How do we get it into Minecraft? That's always the deal. It looks really pretty here in BlockBench, but how do I get it into Minecraft? So with these things saved, we're going to close out of BlockBench. It's going to ask us to save. You're just going to save it all. That way, once the next time you open up BlockBench, you're going to see right here, SWEM Horse Geo. So that way you don't have to go find it again. It populates it there, and it also populates whatever old textures you were working on. So now with that done, you can see here, here's that pasture blanket. Because Keywords is weird, it saves these temporary folders. I'm just going to delete that. So here's that pasture blanket 3 redone. So let's move this into Minecraft. So once again, open up CurseForge. If you're wondering, this is why I have a shortcut down there to my safe haven thing. We're going to open up a folder. I'm just going to temporarily close this here. We are going to open up our resource packs. Here's all my crazy amounts of resource packs I run. And we're going to go all the way back over here to our tack shop template. You can just move the entire thing over here and just continue to work and edit your textures here. Or you can, once again, copy and paste it, move it over. I'm just going to move it completely over. So now we have this folder here. It's in our resource packs. The next thing to do, whoops, not that. Next thing to do is to open, not BlockBench. Where'd CurseForge work? There's CurseForge. Next thing to do is just launch Minecraft as it is. And so we'll just launch Minecraft. We'll get into it. While Minecraft is launching, I'm gonna show you a little bit around. We'll let Minecraft launch. This pack.png, changing this PNG file, you want to keep it square, but you can have it whatever size you want. This will be like what your temporary logo is. If you click it here, I just have your texture pack logo here. Cute. I have this user guide in here. It will tell you exactly where things are located. It also will tell you exactly where the GUI, the GUI, the menu texture is. It'll tell you exactly where things live. Things like halters, bridles, saddles, once we get to the bridles and saddles, they're going to have an additional texture on the bridle rack, and it says right in here, exactly where to find those things and where exactly to find it. So reading this README text can help right here. So the ribbons and rosettes also exist here. The ribbons and rosettes, their template model, I need to add it here just while this is continuing to load. Move that down. For the ribbons, your main model file will be assets, SWEM, models, item, and then where is ribbons? We're going to open this up. No, sorry. Block, ribbons. And I will add this thing because I just realized that I forgot it. So again, it's assets, SWEM, models, block, and then we're going to scroll all the way down to ribbons, which is super far down here because everything is in here, all different types. So for example, the 3 ribbon black thing, this will be what we add into BlockBench. And just since this is still loading, we'll just, oh, it just finished loading. It's fine. This can wait for just a second. We'll launch BlockBench. You can see here, I have it up here. So if we open up our model, instead of entity, again, we're going to go models, block, and I'm going to search for it. I want a ribbon. Let's just grab the champion ribbon. No, excuse me. Okay, ribbon, champion. That's what we want. It's going to have you the choice to either open parent or open parent and adopt textures. This is because they all reference a different other one, which is the template. So we're going to click open parent and adopt texture. It's going to open up 2. You can just click out of this one. This is what we want. Ribbon, 3-tail or 2-tail or rosette or whatever template. For mine, it'll be 1-tail template. and you want to just edit this file. Honestly, editing this 3-tail template, you can work on my 1-tail template as well. The only thing that is different is it does not have the 3rd set of petals, and it does not have the tail right or tail left. This is all it is. So, and then you can just work on this and paint it just exactly the same way as everything else. It's all beautiful. All right, save, like always. So, get out of here. So, now what? Let's go into a single player world. I'll just go into my builds world. We should have a lot of different things and random chaos in here. Make this all big. As it loads. Again, allow a lot of time loading for SWEM because your computer's doing a lot. And also, as always, this is not an all-encompassing tutorial, and you're more than welcome to ask questions in the Discord. Oh my goodness, quiz! Why are you in the pond, silly goose? Alright, as you can tell, this is my testing world. Look at all my horses and their texture files. So if we remember correctly, we were looking, we changed the blanket texture for blanket number 3, the yellow one, not the armored one, the normal one. So, looking at this guy right here, if we options, resource packs, we are looking for right here, our logo here, our 1.82, our template pack. If you rename the folder, this will be renamed in the pack.mcmeta, has the your pack description here one. So I'm going to go there, put it right on top, and click done. It'll reload. It'll take forever. It's fine. If it gets stuck right here, you're just needing to let it load and let it wait. So, like I said, you don't have to have it in a zip file. I actually don't recommend it being in a zip file, especially as you're working on your textures. When I'm working on textures for Safe Haven for my server, I'm not really working out of that zipped file that I share with everyone else. I have an open folder that I'm constantly working in textures for, and when I'm saving it into that folder as well. So I can constantly make little changes, little adjustments to how things work and operate. That template that I also have that I shared that I was working in, that template in Google Drive updates with every update of my brain cells. My mod, I left the old English saddle blanket textures in there. I haven't updated them to the new ones just yet. If that's something people want, I can update that. But unless they don't, I'm just going to leave it how there. And you can already see there's our new texture. So, if for whatever reason you have 2 different mods or resource packs, you can see here this Safe Haven textures. That's like I just said, it doesn't have the .zip file. This one has saddle pasture blankets already pre-rendered in. If we actually scroll down here, where are they? Oh, this is why. So, because I'm gonna just sit right here for a second. You'll notice here these ones are all the same, and that's because if we go back and we open up our file folders, so our resource packs, our assets, our SWEM, our textures, our entity, horse, armor, pasture blanket, you can see here all the different pasture blankets exist right here. So that means it's rewriting every single interaction. So if you only want to change a few different blankets, what you actually want to do is something that looks a lot closer to my Safe Haven textures. So if I open up that one, horse, armor, pasture blanket, you can see here there's only 3 changed. So it's not going to overwrite a bunch of them. So for that reason, whoops, I went way too far back. There we go. Template, assets, swim, textures, entity, horse, armor, pasture blanket. So for that reason, you can just like grab and just move off out to the side, move to desktop, move to somewhere else, have it just another copy, or just re-download the template whenever you want it. So you're only really using the files you want. Or you can just go and build your own. That's fine. There's a ton of different other tutorials on YouTube that are just devoted to texture pack creation, just devoted to BlockBench, just devoted to really every little aspect of this. So I moved those things out, but they're still here. That's because I haven't actually reloaded the textures. Minecraft is still running on the operation that, hey, these are the textures that exist here. So in order to tell it, hey, I changed the textures, what we can do is we can press F3T, and it reloads our texture packs again. If you have Optifine, you will often be reloading your textures to get things to be just right, because Optifine is notorious for having texture errors. So F3 plus T will be your very best friend, especially if you are trying to fiddle with things or work with things to get things just the perfect sweet place the way they are that you want them to be. And a lot of texture pack creation honestly is just trial and error. Finding things that work, because how they exist in real life is not going to be the exact same way they exist here in Minecraft, and we kind of have to fiddle and play with making it look just right and work with the proportions that we have. So give yourself grace, give yourself some leeway as you work, and things will be just fine. Okay, so just give yourself a little bit of leeway, and everything will be just fine. Uh-oh, it's not responding, which means it's maxing out on its RAM, which is interesting. Normally I have a beefy enough computer that it doesn't not respond. There it goes. All right. And see, now that I have taken out those texture files and allows the other texture packs to operate, you can see here are some of my server's texture files. Here's our Halloween rodeo, Halloween event blanket that we handed out. Here's our monthly blanket. This one's by Carnivores. They made this nice royal blue blanket. And we maybe? No, we don't have any of my ribbon textures because I took them down. You can have it. So just some like little texture errors. If we look at Quiz here, Quiz is wearing one of our face masks. Very cute. If this is transparent for you and you can see through your poor pony's head, you might be having an issue with your Oculus and Rubidium, which is what this Oculus Fly Mask Fix does. This basically, as you can, here's that kind of like see-through head. What it does is it makes that the eye part of the head non-transparent, so you can't really see their little eyeballs, which is sad, but it does make it so that way they're not transparent heads. But all in all, that is really our tutorial today. What we've covered, just kind of in review and summary as we wait for this to load and show that model texture, is we learned how to find the SWEM mod, we learned how to unzip it so we could learn its assets, we learned where to find things inside of it, we learned about BlockBench, we learned how to edit things in BlockBench, how to edit things outside of BlockBench but have it still talk to BlockBench. We learned about my template texture pack. We learned about adding things and changing things inside of it. Learned about putting it into Minecraft and working with other texture packs and making things acceptable with it. One last thing. If we go into here while we again wait for that to load. We've been working out of the SWEM section, but if we want to have little nice textures in our GUI, in our thing, we can go into the Tree Tack shop, textures, items, and once again this is going to be nicely named. So everything has their nice own little folder. It's all in the README as well, so don't worry. Pasture blanket. Here's all the little menu buttons. So if you want to have something nice and pretty, obviously right here you can see this overwrites my other texture packs, so I can't really show you that. But if you want to have something that looks nice in your menu bar that matches your blanket, this would be the file that you want to edit. These ones, these little tiny little icons, these are ones you're going to want to edit in just that Kirita, Photoshop, GIMP, Paint Tool SI, whatever. You don't want to work in BlockBench for this. It gets a little wonky in BlockBench. So for these ones, these little GUI items, work in this. But yeah, so let me show you that Oculus fix and we'll call it a day. So yeah, so here we go. Now you can see you can't see Quiz's eye anymore, which is sad. But if you're dealing with textures that you sometimes can see through your horse's face, that's a little bit more creepy. So that's a little bit fixed. Thank you for joining us today. And again, if you have any questions, let me show you a little bit around Discord. If you're looking for questions with your texture pack, this is the place to do it. If you're looking for getting your mod to function and work, this tack shop support is how you do it. Hopefully we'll get more people sharing their textures. I got my little texture thread here. If you're a texture artist and you want to share your threads, or maybe even an entire texture pack with a couple different things inside of it, you can talk to me and I can get you access to be sharing inside of this thing. But that's it. I hope you've had a great day and I wish you all the best. Have a great day.